Napoleon Bonaparte is considered by many to be one of the greatest military leaders that's ever lived. Having grown up in a military school in France, he was well versed in all things military, and it's no surprise that he saw the amount of success that he did. But there are a few facts about Napoleon that most people get wrong. For a long time, people assumed that he was a short man, when in reality, he stood between 5'6" and 5'7" tall, well within the average height for males.
Well, what you have to do is you have to go and look up the information yourself. It says that he was 5'6.5". That isn't exactly the tallest, is it? My sons are 6'2" and 6'3", so that is quite short. But look at that. Napoleon's actual height was 5'2" in French units. So this is probably where the mistake comes, thinking that he is shorter than he is. He's not a particularly tall, sorry if any of this is real, but according to this, he wasn't actually that tall to today. But that's probably where the mistake is. They think that he's 5'2", but he's 5'6.5". So really, my height, that's what I am. Well, actually, no, he's an inch taller than me. 5'6.5". No, I'm the same height as him. It isn't that tall for a man. But anyway, there's one last bit, I think. Yeah, here we go. Oh no, I've done that one. There you go, look. So I looked up. The estimated average height of a French man in 1820 was 5'4". So then he was a little bit taller than the average man. Napoleon measured about 5'7" roughly. Yeah, so why don't they say that in history, that all French men were small in those days? See, history is such a big, because when you start looking into things, you see different things. But anyway, let's carry on with this video.
It's believed that this myth about his height was intentionally spread by British propaganda. For example, the cartoonist James Gilray, who used to depict him as a short man, while another, Isaac Cruikshank, also often drew him as being much shorter than his wife and fellow soldiers, which simply wasn't the case. Some believe that he was responsible for the destruction of the Sphinx's nose. They claimed that it was damaged by a cannonball that was fired by Napoleon's men, but the Sphinx lost its nose before Napoleon arrived in Egypt, as drawings from the 1730s showed the massive monument already damaged. Then there's the myth that he lost his life due to being poisoned by agents, who were worried that he may escape and begin another successful military campaign. But in reality, he lost his life in St. Helena, after briefly struggling with his health. Furthermore, many people were taught that Napoleon and Josephine had an enduring and passionate relationship that would be hard to rival, but this wasn't the case. Soon after the couple got married, Josephine started seeing other men, even writing to one that her life with Napoleon was in constant torment and that she needed her lover to rescue her. Napoleon also didn't cherish the relationship, as he also cheated on her and described her to his officers as decidedly old, stating that she often started crying when she had indigestion. Unsurprisingly, the couple eventually got divorced and went their separate ways.
Did you hear what he said? He said they got divorced. Now, Napoleon would have been a Catholic. So see, Catholics could get divorced. And they could get divorced in King Henry VIII's time as well. So when they tell you that bit of history, that he had to kill his wives and change religion, it's a lie, because he only changed religion, Henry VIII, a couple of years before he died. So the whole of that bit about his 8 wives is a lie. He might have had 8 wives, but he didn't have to kill them. They could get divorced. Catholics have been getting divorced for hundreds of years. Oh, you just need to do a bit of homework, because history is a lie.
Unsurprisingly, the couple eventually got divorced and went their separate ways. But there is one myth that has persisted over the years, and it's now spoken about in Mandela effect circles. We've all seen paintings and other depictions of Napoleon with one of his hands tucked in the front of his jacket, causing much speculation as to why. Some were taught that this was due to Napoleon being slowly poisoned, not by the British or someone close to him, but by the maps he was reading. For a long time, it was said that he used to lick his thumb while paging through the maps, which contained ink that had arsenic as one of its ingredients. But this is pure fallacy. Others
Well, it's always good to go and look things up. So the top there, it says that basically he just tucked his hand into his jacket. The second one says it was based on no evidence that he hid his... Based on no evidence that Napoleon hid his hand because it had been deformed in battle. Anyway, we have another little video now.
Why was Napoleon always hiding his hand? He was depicted this way in painting after painting, and tucking one hand in your shirt has been the go-to pose for an impression of the French emperor long after his death. People have speculated that Napoleon's hidden hand may have been deformed, or that he was relieving chronic stomach pain caused by cancer. And while Napoleon did eventually die of stomach cancer in 1821, that's not what the hand thing is about. Concealing a hand in one's coat was already a long-standing portraiture cliché by the time Napoleon started being depicted this way. It goes at least as far back as ancient Greece, to a Greek statesman who declared that restricting the movement of one hand was the proper way to speak in public. The pose became associated with gentlemanly composure and self-control, two qualities that Napoleon supposedly lacked. He was depicted by his critics outside of France as a hot-headed, cruel tyrant, until this famous 1812 portrait of Napoleon in his study introduced a more restrained leader. Napoleon didn't actually pose for this portrait, but he reportedly loved it, and the hand in shirt pose became forever associated with the French ruler.
were taught that one of his hands was missing, and this is where the Mandela effect makes an appearance. While we now know that he placed his right hand in his jacket front to look more stately, people are adamant that he was in fact missing a hand, and that this fact has conveniently been changed in history books. Why this would have been done remains unknown, since it would serve no effect on how history played out. But it's hard for some people to admit that they're wrong, or have been given the wrong information, and hence it's easier to blame the mistake on something like the Mandela effect.